Natasha, and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, I have not pulled out my gel plate in so long, so I wanted to try some metallic paints, and I got them from Stamperia quite a little while ago actually, but this has been on my to-do list, so I am going to do a quick little bit of gel printing. If you aren't familiar with gel printing, it is a form of monoprinting without having to use a press. Now, it's on like a flexible, rubbery type feeling plate, and we often use a brayer, which is this tool here, to spread out your paints or whatever you're using, your inks, onto the surface. Now, this is the larger, I think it's a 9 by 11 or 8 by 11, or it's a larger Dilutions gel plate. Now, there are lots of different brands. There are Jelly Arts, there's gel plates, and they're all somewhat similar, although I will say some do some techniques better than others, but that video is not about this one. I am using this sort of rice paper textured paper today. Now, I was having a little play with one of the scraps to see which way of the grain the paper was, and that is always good to figure out early. The paints that I use, the acrylic paints for colors today, are going to be the Gina paints, and these are a heavy body acrylic paint, and these are fantastic. I could not recommend these more highly. They are fantastic. They are colorful, bright. There's a huge range of colors. They're nice texture. They're very beautiful pigmented. You can water them down for watercolors, all sorts of things. But in saying that, I do have randoms in there as well. And that is the Dilutions ones. I've got some distress paints. I've got some just random no-name brands as well. You know, we just use what we've got. But in general, I switched over a few years ago just to buying the Gina ones. Now, I don't have that many colors. If you're thinking I've got a massive range, I've probably got, I don't know, maybe 15 or so different colors of them. So enough to keep me going. Now, I am only going to use up about 2/3 or 3/4 of the plate here because that is the size that I have cut down these rice paper sheets to. Now, I'm just creating some base layers. Gel plates are really, really fun, but it's kind of something that you get out and you just do lots and lots of prints. Now, I want to say, if you're watching this video and thinking, I don't necessarily do gel printing, or I don't have a gel plate, then that's okay, because you can do all of this just with ink. You can do all of this just with regular paints. If you've got backgrounds, then you'll be able to make these cards. Really, it's about how to use up your backgrounds, but I was creating some using my gel plate today. So I thought I would quickly run you through these. We are going to move pretty fast, and it's not really an instructional video on how to use a gel plate, because also I am probably not the best expert to tell you about that. I just love, exploring and having a good old play, basically. But these are what I was excited to use. Now, these are the Stamperia acrylic metallic paints, and these are the 3 that I got. I got out some stencils that I thought might work with this one. I will have these ones linked below if you're specifically trying to find these ones, but as I am almost positive that you've got stencils in your stash that are going to work well for this. Some are newer ones, some are definitely, a lot older, and that's okay too, because stencils go on forever. This one here is the Tim Holtz Hexagons ones. As I said, I'll link them down below. Now, these paints, I wanted to do some different layers with these. Some of them I want to layer up on top of the colors that I had already put down, and here I can kind of get like a 2-for-1, because what I'm going to do is pop these stencils down so that they kind of cover all that I'll be printing. And then, for example, this green one here, this is the joy of gel printing, is that you can create so many layers, and I think that is just one of the most exciting things to explore with this tool. I give it this a really, really, really good press down, because I'm trying to get through the stencil and pick up the bronze paint that's underneath this. But I mean, these are pretty. I think these are gorgeous, and I love these Stamperia paints. They actually have more. I just got a couple to begin with because I don't usually need the full set of anything. I can't afford that, and I don't have the space for that. But I do like trying new products every now and then, and I get a couple. And I have been a little bit disappointed with a couple of metallic paints I had tried out, and then I came across these ones and knew that these were going to go well. So this is what I pulled up after that once I had taken the stencils off, and I think this one is just as pretty. So that was what was left underneath the stencils once I had pulled them off. So really cool. And then of course you can do lots of cleanup prints, you can do lots and lots of layers, which is absolutely fabulous. Now, I think this one here is the white gold, and I have another plan with these techniques that I'm going to try with some inks, I think, that is not gel printing. But I think that is coming up in an upcoming video, but not this one, because it takes too much of a detour, and my videos at the moment are getting longer and longer and longer because I'm trying to fit in to show you lots of cards at the finish, I guess. And we're going to do that today too. But wow, look at this one. This one was absolutely stunning. I love that. So then I take the stencils off, and this one I'm just going to print with a plain piece of the rice paper. Now, by all means, you don't have to use rice paper. You can use copy paper. And actually, once copy paper, which is just really thin, like printer paper or computer paper, once it gets a layer of the like acrylic paints or something on top of it, it can become quite sturdy and perfectly fine for card making and, you know, adding lots of bits and pieces. So if you're thinking, I don't really want to waste that much paper or that much cardstock or, you know, that much rice paper or whatever it may be, then just use printer paper for gel printing. And honestly, I still do that, and I still think it works out just fine, depending on how much paint you obviously add, because you don't want them too wet, otherwise they'll crinkle a little bit, but just explore. Now this one is another gorgeous gold. I had so much fun with this. Here are just some of the prints that I made, and you'll be able to see some of them I didn't have on camera, some of them I just cut out. As I said, once you start gel printing, it is unbelievably addictive. But one of my most favorite techniques ever is using water droplets on a gel plate, and I have a video with that. You can either search it up on my channel or I will link it down below. It is really stunning results. So these can be fun. There are a lot of techniques to learn for sure. But anyway, let's get on to making some cards with these prints. Now, this one here, I could look at these all day. I mean, you could cut this up. I wanted more than one print on the card front for this one. But anyway, I'm getting distracted. Let's actually get started. And then I saw these ones, and these dried beautifully. Very shiny. I mean, you could put some white die cuts on these, and they would just look stunning. Absolutely stunning. But okay, this time, actually, let's move on and we'll start to make them. But for the very first one, I thought let's start off with a bright and beautiful color, this orange. Now it's actually a cleanup print where I use the leftover, and so there's some leftover of that, I think it's white gold or that white shimmery metallic on there, and it is absolutely just stunning. So using my Spellbinders trimmer, I'm going to trim this up. I'm using a Wild Dandelion card base, which is a Gina cardstock color, and she has, I think all of them are either 100 or 110 pound cardstock, so they are beautiful for card bases. And then I was going to do a black matting layer, but I felt like that just dragged it down a little bit, so I added a white matting layer in there and popped that down onto my 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card base. And then when I was holding up that die cut before, I thought actually this is just so super simple. So this is the Whirl Bay Leaves die cut, a really beautiful one that I'm really enjoying using at the moment. A good foliage die is worth its weight in gold, and this one is actually just going to go down as is. I was going to cut out multiples, several of them, and layer them up. You could do that if you wanted to, but I wanted to keep this one just as is. I was happy. It's got lots of texture within the die, and so I was happy seeing that. And then for the sentiment, I'm just going to go quick and cute with this one. I have these Katy Designs Thinking of You banners. There are 4 sheets in here, and oh my, there are so many sentiments. I think there's 4 or 5 or 6 different sayings or sentiments in themselves, and then there are 2 entire gold sheets and 2 entire silver sheets, and I purchased these quite a while ago, and I'm not sure if they're still available, but we may as well use them up. So I'm going to pop one of these on here. I'm using some 1mm foam tape, so it just gives a tiny bit of lift. And this is the 1/4 inch wide foam tape, which I get from scrapbook.com. And because it is their brand, they always have a really good sale on it. It is always up to 50% off at least. So don't purchase it at full price. They have sales very often. Now, this one says just to say, and you can see the gold shimmering, the background shimmers. I really love this. Simple, but sweet, I think. Now, this one is a little bit different. All of these cards are sort of not meant to go together, I would say. They don't look great next to each other because they're all very different. But I love this one here, and I love this inside stitched tea dye. This is a lawn fawn one. It has the stitching inside and outside. So you can kind of use this as more of like a shaker card sentiment, shaker card style, or you can cut it out and actually use the die cut like I am today. And then this one is Tea Time Sentiments from Hefty Doodle. Now, I purchased these together a long time ago now. I'm not sure if they're still available. If you see things in my video and you really like the look of them, or you're planning on shopping them anyway, then I always link everything that I possibly can that's still available down below. So that always really helps out creators as well as when you use those links if you are already going to be shopping anyway. And then I have the little tea bag part of it. These dies all come together in a set, and for me, this was just a really good investment. I have a couple of videos on my channel actually dedicated just to this cup of tea die because I enjoyed using it so much, and it's definitely one that is staying in my stash. Now, just because these were on rice paper, I did cut out a second die cut in just plain white cardstock, and that gave it some stability. Just because I wanted to pop this up, this card is going to be very, very sweet and simple as well, but kind of in a different way to before. So as I said, these cards don't necessarily look good next to each other side by side, but by themselves I think they look gorgeous. This is just meant to be a nice simple sweet card that I could pop to a friend, and it says you are a terrific friend, and I've got the wee steam coming up the top. Again, these are all the dies that come in that set. And then I liked the pattern. I kind of chose the pattern where it's got the gold going through by the top of the handle there, and it kind of looks like a nice sort of pattern that goes around the mug or the cup. And then I'm going to do my wonky borders all the way around. As I said, nice and simple. I do some little stitching lines and some little dots just for interest, and these wonky borders are fantastic because you don't have to make a straight line, and it is very, very easy to, just make these look good even though they're wonky. So that is the super simple, easy peasy card finished. I'm just going to pop this little tea bag in place so it doesn't go astray, but I think this with some nice chocolates and some tea bags and treats for a mama, for a busy mama, for a friend would be really, really lovely. Right, we're moving on to the next one, and I've got all these 3 gorgeous colors here. Now, all of these have a little bit of the gold or the white gold in the background, and I thought, actually, I'm just, again, sweet and simple. I love these. I really don't want to cover up too much of the backgrounds of these, and I'm trying to make them the focal point. So we did make them literally the focal point in the last one and die cut out of them, but I want to be able to see that gorgeous background that we have created. So for this one, I'm just not measuring at all, cutting out different sized strips from all 3 of these. Then I'm going directly onto my card base. If you'd like to create a border, then I suggest doing it onto a card front or even a piece of acetate, and you could make it a floating card front as well. But then I'm going to just pop these all the way along, different spaces, different widths, different lengths. Nothing is going to be the same here. I want it to be pretty random, but it is very colourful. Now, as I said, these are directly down onto my card base. So I turn it over, cut off all those extra little bits coming off the edges, and then that is going to leave me some nice, clean, tidy edges. I just use the art glitter glue, so it gives me a second to pop it down and get it in place, but it is nice and strong. Then I'm going to keep this nice and stark white. This is the Princess Circle die from Gina K, and that is my last one that I had die cut. I find that if I pre-die cut some of those types of dies and I store them in the back of my dies, I am far more likely to use them, and that has proved very true with those more intricate dies like this Princess Circle one, but I absolutely love it. So when I've got some time, I'm going to go through and just die cut, half a dozen of these and pop them in the back of the packaging. It definitely makes my card making go a lot smoother. Then we're going to stamp this gorgeous sentiment on here, and it's going to go right in the center. I could pop on some little shiny dots or enamel dots or something like that somewhere too, but I really love this one too. Sweet and simple, and I hope that you have enjoyed this video. Let me know your favorite down in the comment section down below, and let me know if you even do gel printing. I'm seeing less videos and things on it at the moment, so wondering if it's going a bit quiet. Nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.